Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Once again, dear brothers and sisters, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and send blessings and salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, what to mention, which is quite important, is the fact that in the previous juz, we looked at a matter of some issues related to the juz itself. Although we spoke quite extensively about contemplation and action. Not action without contemplation, but contemplation with action. Because if man has contemplation, it's easier for them to act upon that which they've contemplated upon, so that they can do what? Implement the right things rather than just acting without no time for them to process and even having the right thoughts in their mind. Now in this juz, before we even go any further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the previous juz, what did He mention? He mentioned something quite phenomenal, and He said, and He was building up for this following juz. وَمَا كُنْتَ تَتْلُو مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنْ كِتَابٍ وَلَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينِكَ إِذًا لَارْتَابَ الْمُبْطِلُونَ. I was listening to Sheikh Ahmed, Hafidhahullah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and he was explaining in regards to, if you look at the events of the Quran, you notice that the events, how they are provided and the order of the Quran, they might not match one another. So for example, when you look at the verse related to Surah Al Imran in regards to the battle of Uhud, وَلَقَدْ صَدَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ إِذْ تُحُسُّونَهُم بِإِذْنِهِ حَتَّى إِذَا فَشِلْتُمْ وَتَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ وَعَصَيْتُمْ. Now if you look at the word عَصَيْتُمْ, it's amazing, and also it's mind-blowing when you realize it. عَصَيْتُمْ is when they disobeyed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. صح? Lakin Allah did not start with the disobedience of Rasulullah, but He talked about their failure and when they disputed. فَشِلْتُمْ, first of all they failed, then they disputed in the matter, which was the matter of who is the one that's going to remain to cover the backs of the Sahabas and also the Muslims, and who will not, because Rasulullah gave them strict orders. Even if you see us benefiting from the spoils of war, ensure that you do not leave your stations until I tell you so. And some, they told the others, do not leave, whereas others, they did not listen. We have won the war, that's what they thought, and they left. Now because of lack of unity, Allah is showing them that this is far more greater than the disobedience which you have already fought upon. So bear in mind that the problem that you have right now is far more greater than this one, because we are bound to make mistakes. That's just an example I'm providing. We are bound to make mistakes. Lakin when the unity of the Muslims is broken, we start scattering, we start shattering, and we start what? Dismantling straight away. And it's exactly what we are facing today. If you look at the reality, that's what has put us down so much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all. Lakin if you look beyond that, what's more important right now is the fact that after realizing this, you end up looking at the verse that we have, which we just recited from Surah Al-Ankabut, and how does it tie together with the following juz that we have. Allah says, وَمَا كُنْتَ تَتْلُو مِنْ قَبْلِهِ, and even before the revelation or maybe the advent of Islam, when you received the message, you are not the one to recite. Basically, you are not capable of reciting. And from any book, min kitab, any single book, وَلَا تَخُطُّهُ, and nor were you able to write it, and you did not write abadan biyaminika, with your right hand, إِذَا لَارْتَابَ الْمُبْطِلُونَ. If that was so, then those who keep on invalidating you and they keep on rejecting you and cancelling you, they would have already had doubts to realize the fact that he was capable to write before and he was even able to read. But if that was, and if that is the case, then what if he's just lying right now? Like those who literally claim to say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the one that found Islam, and Islam is not even a divine type of religion. Wal-iyadhu billah. We understand what is at stake here, but Allah started with reciting rather than writing. What was the purpose? Because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he received from Allah was recitation rather than reading. And through there, you realize that because Rasulullah was reciting, Allah wanted to debunk their claims to show that that which he is reciting is from us, because he wasn't capable to recite before. And the Quran has not been collected yet. And even if once it's going to be collected, then bear in mind, he would not be the one to even write it, just like how he was not capable of writing it before that. And he wasn't able to write any book, nor any scroll, or even a single line. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala debunked and refuted the argument of the non-believers from there. What do you get from an image here? The image that we get is that it provides us with an argument to believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam even more, to a level where once Allah and His Messenger they ordain something, or maybe they settle an issue upon us, is to just abide. Once you know that Rasulullah was not the one to write the book, nor the one to recite any type of book prior to the advent of Islam, you realize as long as Rasulullah antaqahu Allah, Allah has made him pronounce and has made him speak, then that means this is an order from Allah and not an order from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hence Allah now mentions, وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ. Has not been upon the believing man and the believing woman, إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا, when Allah and His Messenger settle a matter, أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ, that they would have a choice to dispute and argue and ask why. What they are supposed to do is just obey. وَمَن يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا مُبِينًا. I always like to say this, when we keep on disputing and arguing, and also at the same time questioning Allah's orders, we want to know the wisdom behind it, we want to know the purpose behind it. That is having a mindset which is, in today's terms, I can mention scientific mindset, where science it raises the curiosity of the mind to a level where people, rather than just following, they question everything. But let me tell you something, if science just provides you the how, would it be able to provide you the why? It can't. Only Quran can do so. And Quran are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we cannot understand the why unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides us with it. Just like one of my friend's father, mashallah, he's quite learnt, and if I'm not wrong, he's a PhD holder at the same time. He has knowledge, mashallah. Gave an example of Matilda. Auntie Matilda cooks an entire cake, the recipes, the amount of calories that go in. Now scientists, they've come and calculated, nutritionists, they've calculated the benefits that are out of there, and also the calories. And also the cooks, what have they done? They've just come in that this is the type of ingredients that were used in order to formalize the cake. But why did Matilda cook the cake itself? That's the question. Hence, it brings in the issue where, do we question or do we abide? The thing is, we abide, because Allah gives us already the answer. He brought us on this earth so that we can worship Allah. We worship Him and no one else and nothing else whatsoever. We should not seek any rizq by saying that we have to worry, why am I not receiving this? Why is it not working? We do the work, Allah provides. That's the only thing that we live with, inshaAllah ta'ala. That's what is required from us. To Allah belongs the results, but from us it's the efforts. And when Allah tells us to do something, it's not about the why and the wisdom behind it, it's about us abiding by it. And an example is set after that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets two examples. He talks about two things. But the first one is to show that even your messenger that you are supposed to follow, which is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أفضل الخلق آخر الأنبياء وكذلك خليل الله الذي ناداه الله تبارك وتعالى إلى سدرة المنتهى. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Allah tells him, Ya Muhammad, your adopted son, Zayd ibn Haritha, his marriage with Zainab bint Jahsh is annulled, invalidated, and basically regarded as void. That contract does not exist anymore. So what you are supposed to do, Ya Muhammad, you need to marry Zainab bint Jahsh. Now this leaves Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the middle of a pickle. And what type of pickle? A type of weird pickle. And if you look at it, the messenger knows that in the practice, according to the practices of the Arabs before the advent of Islam, is that an adopted son, a fostered son, is a son who will inherit from the person, from the father, and at the same time is regarded similar to the blood son. A child that is born by birth in the family and the adopted son, both of them are regarded as one, to the same level, to the level where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarded Zayd ibn Haritha that arithuhu wa yarithuni. He inherits from me and I inherit from him, and he is bimathabati ibni, that he's at the level of my son, like Ibrahim And we Abul Qasim, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his kunyas, or maybe his nicknames was Abul Qasim, and one of his sons known as Al Qasim as well. All of his sons and Zayd ibn Haritha, where they were regarded as one level. But Allah wanted to do away with this. So He had to set an example through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And even if it put Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the most weirdest of situations because of the practices of the Arabs, but He had to set an example showing that, look, it's not from me, it's from Allah. All I have to do is abide. I know she was the wife of my adopted son, but the fact that he is adopted and he's not my actual son, it will always bear the question, can he inherit from me or not? And would he always be to the same level as my children? And in fact, Allah answered that by saying that cannot happen. So you have to marry Zainab bint Jahsh. So you can destroy that idea which the Arabs used to practice at the time. Yes, that's very clear, but there are wisdoms far beyond that. Why didn't Allah want to keep that relationship between Rasulullah and Zayd ibn Haritha to remain for so long? There are many other wisdoms that you and I might not understand, and of course we would not, because He knows why and how to protect a society. But then after mentioning this, Allah mentions something very important, and that is number 2. And what is it? That even though I have told your messenger that he has to abide by this, it is upon you and it's incumbent upon you, O believer, to respect that which Rasulullah comes with and ultimately respect him as the messenger of yours that you follow today. لكن ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين. The messenger has never been a father to any one of you. Bear that in mind. But in fact, he is Rasulullah and Khatamun Nabiyyin. Some of the Sahabas might have came, and even up to today, you would find that some people, they might have claimed to say that I'm from the family of the adopted son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Allah wanted to destroy that and eliminate that and remove that, He had to he had to provide that example and place that command in the surah. And you notice in Surah Al-Ahzab, the one that we are reciting right now. And there are so many other reasons which are ultimately in the hands of Allah. We cannot really discuss them why and understand them why. But what we understand from them very little is that it's to safeguard mankind and the chastity of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Further than that, now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always, because although he is a hero to the Muslims, but he's always regarded as an enemy to the non-believers. And because of that, what we realize is the fact that even though a man can be impactful to mankind on this earth, what happens is the fact that that man does not cease to have enemies. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had lots of enemies. An example that I gave earlier or before is that imagine that you are a social media artist and maybe you have 1 million followers, and from those million you only have like 5 to 10% of haters. Now that number sounds really small, but if you look at it in reality, it's like you have 100,000 haters out there on the world that literally do not like you. And maybe these ones are cyber enemies, that whatever you post something, they will look for every single way to do what? To criticize. Anything that you say, pick up a flaw, or maybe say that you are not able to produce this well, and pick whatever random thing that they want to pick, they will pick it. As long as they want to put a fault in you, they would make sure that that happens. But what they fail to understand is the fact that mankind is fallible, mankind is bound to make mistakes, and we are not created perfect. But also the one who is a figure, who is quite respected to his people, what they have to realize is that even though you might be a hero to others, but you are not really a hero to another type of group. In fact, you're an enemy. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is given an example over here. But before we even go there, let's talk about those who determined Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as his hero, as their hero. Allah says in Surah As-Saba, وَيَرَى الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ رَبِّكَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ وَيَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. And those who have received knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a gift, they look at the revelation and they look at you, O Rasulullah, and they regard you and the revelation to be of the truth, because you received the truth and delivered the truth. And for this purpose, what has happened is the fact that now they believed in the truth, they look at it as guidance towards the path that which is honored. Bear in mind that. So you're not left alone, and it doesn't mean that no one is following you and that's it. But what you need to realize, even though you have those who are with you on your side, they are on your side, but how about the enemies? When they attack you, when they harm you, when they even look down upon you, what you need to realize is that وَإِن يُكَذِّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كُذِّبَتْ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ. Even though they reject you, they deny you, they cancel you today, but messengers before you, they've went through and experienced the same type of behavior and return, and also the same energy from the enemies, just like how you have faced it. And far worse, some other prophets, they were murdered by their own people. Imagine that. Perhaps Rasulullah, even though he's seen difficulty and experienced it, but the slaughtering of a messenger and a prophet is far more greater than even harming the messenger itself. All of them, we can say perhaps they are on the same level and even beyond. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and not make us of those people that literally look down upon our messengers and look for those little flaws and say that messengers are not infallible, but in fact they are fallible. Bear in mind, messengers, they are a representation of Allah. If they are to make mistakes, and we prove because they're human beings that they had certain areas that they made mistakes, then how do we hold the position of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We have to tread carefully when it comes to that, dear brothers and sisters. But if we go further, let's go back a little bit on the Surah Al-Saba. The verse that I quoted is from Surah Fatir, which is after that. But what you learn from Surah Al-Saba is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He beautifully places and provides us the story of Dawood and Sulaiman alayhi salam. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ مِنَّا فَضْلًا يَا جِبَالُ أَوِّبِي مَعَهُ وَالطَّيْرَ وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide over here? Allah provides to us that, Ya Rasulullah, you are to be followed, and an example to the believers is that of Dawood and Sulaiman alayhim as-salam. Dawood being the father of Sulaiman alayhi salam, you notice that Allah provides clearly over here. When we sent Sulaiman alayhi salam, now leave Dawood, we're coming to Sulaiman. Allah made the wind to be on his command, and at the same time the jinns to be under his command, and not only that, animals such as birds, and even beyond that, you notice other type of animals. Let's say after birds you have horses, you have other like camels, and all of those that existed around him, they were under his command as his army. The jinns, they would dive under the oceans and extract that which they find from the rubies and the pearls, or maybe build for him, and also metal they will bring forth. They were the ones that they assisted on building the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Why does Allah provide this? He provides as an example to Sulaiman alayhi salam the fact that, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the fact that, look at your brother Sulaiman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made all of these entities be under his command. Similar to those of your followers that are the believers, they are under your command. And for them, when Allah is addressing us now, when you look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put under the command of Sulaiman alayhi salam all of these entities, and how they responded back beautifully, even when he passed away, فَلَمَّا قَضَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَوْتِ مَا دَلَّهُمْ عَلَى مَوْتِهِ. Nothing signalized to them that, a signal to them that Dawood and Sulaiman alayhi salam has passed away. إِلَّا دَابَّةُ الْأَرْضِ تَأْكُلُ مِنْ سَأَتَهِ. Only the insects of the earth when they were eating from the stick, from the staff of Sulaiman. When that happened and Sulaiman fell off, that's when they realized Sulaiman alayhi salam has passed away. But they were in the obedience of Sulaiman, regardless of how still Sulaiman was. And similar to us, if that's how they obeyed Sulaiman alayhi salam, we have to respect Rasulullah and naqdirahu haqqa qadrih. We have to put him on the pedestal that he deserves. We should not put him in a position just like you and I. His position is far more greater even to the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, if that is understandable, we should not cease to bear in mind the fact that we will find enemies that attack Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And yes, they did exist. Look at the hypocrites of Medina. Look at the non-believers of Mecca. Aren't they the ones that wanted to destroy Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the battle of the trenches? Aren't they the ones that wanted to destroy Medina just because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And they knew once Rasulullah has passed away. If you look at the battle of Uhud, what literally made them feel that they've failed and also they've fallen into regret and realized what they have done is when they heard that Mata Rasulullah, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has passed away after being struck by the enemy. So they realized that and realized what type of mistake that they've made. What you notice is that by the passing of Rasulullah, or maybe the murdering of Rasulullah, it will literally destroy and break the morale of the Muslims, and that's something which they were trying to avoid. And alhamdulillah, the messenger lived until he passed away naturally, which the morale of the Muslims still remained. But what you realize is the fact that they attacked him, but there were those at the same time that glorified him by providing him his position. They honored him, they venerated him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And up to today, we as Muslims do the same. And among the influential men that exist today, one book was written, and I forgot the author. He says that the first impactful and influential man that would ever exist on earth and would be cherished the most is Muhammadun sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the person that has received the utmost respect from his own people and has become the most influential when it comes to his own people. Imagine that. That is something very difficult to find in today's day and age. But what we need to realize at the same time is the fact that التأدب مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أهم شيء. Why am I mentioning this? To close and to kind of come to an end, why do we need to respect Rasulullah and put him in a position where he deserves? It's because look at our religion. Our religion is based on divine revelation. And who is the man that literally received the revelation? Is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now imagine Rasulullah being the nur and the light of this religion. If you and I or one of us will decide to literally criticize, wal-iyadhu billah, or look down upon Rasulullah, or maybe point out something which is not a mistake in itself, but you just want to put a black mark on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one little spot of darkness because of the mistake that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, perhaps people might claim so and so that he has done, like those who say if you're talking about the best of creations, which is Rasulullah, then how comes he married Aisha radiallahu anha when he was young? Imagine when she was young. Imagine that. Everybody comes up with a claim of what they want. But what you realize is that there are masail which are far beyond that. And when you look at it in that perspective, you realize that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the most deserving of respect, because if we do not do so, then the light of this ummah diminishes. And when the light of this ummah diminishes, the entire sacred knowledge that we are holding on to, that will fall apart. And once it falls apart, we are doomed and we are lost. Hence you come to find that generations that come after us, when you ask them, what is La ilaha illallah? They don't even know what it means. They don't even know what it stands for. And they don't even realize how important their religion is to them. And that is among the greatest dangers, which you and I today, if we're not careful, will come to face. And when we face that, bear in mind this entire ummah will fall into a very deep ocean and never to be found anymore. And will crumble down just like how mountains crumble and they dismantle when there is an earthquake. That's something which we don't want to experience in our lives. Think about it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet from among the many prophets, that which is the last prophet of our ummah. And we have to have utmost respect with him. If we don't do so, and we don't regard the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a leader, and at the same time we don't understand the fact that Allah sent knowledge through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will become blind, and forever we're gonna face darkness. And once we face darkness, what we are gonna be hitting, we're gonna be hitting poles and hard walls to a level where now we're asking ourselves, why are we being damaged? But that damage is caused by ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all and make us a a people that from this juz and according to what we've seen from it, an example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also the example of Sulaiman alayhi salam, these two prophets, that how they were respected and how they should be respected is exactly how we should respect them and provide them their ranks. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.